Okay, so up on my screen here, we've got Nintex RPA up on the right-hand side, and just some system in the background. So what I'm going to do is kind of start with an introduction of Nintex RPA, go over how we build out a bot flow or a process. We call them bot flows, but how to build one out, how to use the tool kind of in general, and then I'll jump over to a completed kind of built out bot flow so you can see that running, and just to get an idea and a really generalized high level look at it. So kind of in line with the rest of the Nintex product suite, our goal is to make things as easy as possible. You know, we really want everyone from that, you know, that full range from that business user all the way up to those heavy duty IT developer types, to be able to get in and automate what they need to do. Those repetitious, kind of mundane tasks that they're spending a lot of time on. So we do all that through drag and drop in RPA here. So this bullseye here is going to be that main tool that you're using to build out your bot flows. And all you do is drag and drop, right? So me knowing the process, I know I need to click on this new button as the first step here in my new bot flow. So all I do is grab that bullseye, my cursor changes, and then I just move it and drag it on top of that new button right there. All right. So as soon as I let go, Nintex RPA is doing a lot of work in the background, doing all the heavy lifting. It's looking at all the code and like analyzing everything going on. In this case, it's a website, right? So it's looking at all those HTML pieces and parts. Other applications, it would look at other things, not the HTML, in all cases, but that's what it's looking at in this case for a website. And since we do know all that information about whatever we just dropped that bullseye on, we're able to give you kind of a short list of actions here. So 15 or 20 different choices. So rather than throwing you in the deep end and making you sift through 400 different choices there, we really trim it down. Again, it's just another thing that we try to do to make it as easy as possible for everyone. So from this point, all you have to do is choose what you want to do to that target here. So this is the button there. I said earlier I wanted to click on it, so I'll just choose that click action. It'll come up. There's some different options for each of the different actions that we have. So click is pretty straightforward, so not a whole lot going on there. And then with this, as soon as I click OK here, it's going to save the action, and it'll actually run it as well. So hands off there, I just took over, ran that step for me, and it's kind of keeping up in that process with me as I'm going through building it out. It's following along with me, kind of instantly validating that everything's working the way I'm expecting it to, and kind of that on-the-fly testing that we're getting. So then from here, we built that one step, and then it's just a matter of kind of going through rinse and repeat from there. So in this case now I need to type something into that account name field. So I'll choose that from the list after I drop the bullseye on there, configure it, click OK. It takes over, it's typing in that field now. Maybe now I need to work in this drop down here, so that type drop down. I get a couple different actions here. Because it is a drop down, I just choose whatever I want to choose, click OK, and it'll run that step for me, right? So what I'm going to do now is jump over to that built out process that I mentioned before. And what this process is doing, what I'm going to actually do is kind of just set this at maybe like half speed here, and as soon as I click play, it's going to take over and start running. So what this process is doing, we're going to be working from a sheet of data just in Excel here. We'll see it pull up in just a second, kind of open in the background there. So it'll shift it around, make it look nice for the demo, and then what we're going to be doing is going line by line to add these new accounts in. So the first thing it'll do is it will go through and copy all of the 4 pieces of data that we need. So that bank name, that city, we'll get the state, and then that employee count as well. So that's temporarily storing these data points into our variables so that we can reference them later. So now we're coming in, adding all that information in. So you see we've got those 4, and then it'll save it. So when it saves it, there's a few different things that potentially could happen. It's either going to save successfully, in this case, most cases, right? And then there's that small margin for those exceptions. So maybe there's like a duplicate or an error message, something like that. In those cases, in this bot flow, I've just set it up to kind of recognize those different error states, those exceptions, those messages from the website. And we'll see here in a couple lines, you see line 4 there has no value in that number of employees field. So what will happen is, kept it very simple. Again, just for the purposes of the demo, just to keep it as simple as possible. It's going to just put a note in that notes column in the data source and just move on to the next line in there. So if we needed to, though, send someone an email or separate it out to a different log file. If it was something urgent, maybe you want to text someone. A whole lot of different options there. Total flexibility with how we can handle those exceptions and those errors that might come up. So what I'll do now is I'll just crank up the speed a little bit. Yeah, so another thing I should go through and highlight is, in this case, again, demo, very simple. Just drive that home. We're working with Excel and we're on a website. In this case, it's Salesforce, right? So with Nintex RPA, it's completely platform agnostic. What that means is we can interact with any system. So any business application that you've got installed on your machine, so whether that's a website, a Windows application, if you're using like old school AS400 or mainframe, those green screen emulators, using SAP, you'll see Excel here. We can pull data from a lot of different sources, interact directly with SQL. We can hook up to your IMAP email, to pull an email. We can send emails, I mentioned before. So we're not just kind of boxed in. We have that full range of platforms that we can interact with there. Cool. Yeah, so as I was talking there, we got through those two exceptions that I kind of seeded into the demo data. And you'll see, again, we just kind of put a note in there, filed it away, and moved on to the next one. All right, so as this finishes, I'll just let it run through. So for these last two, I'm going to put the speed at full speed here. And just to highlight here, so even though RPA here is running at full speed, you see it dumped all that data in really quick, we're still going to be kind of limited by the speed of the application. So pages loading, things popping in, so it's only going to work as fast as you would as a human, right? So kind of that same idea. We're interacting with the interface like a human. We're following the same human process, more or less. So it's likewise with like the speed that it goes. Pages loading, we're not going to be able to do anything as a person, so RPA is not going to be able to do anything. All right, so it looks like it finished up here. We got our results all filled out. We got this couple of exceptions. So at this point, the process for the demo is done with, but if you wanted to maybe email this log to someone, kick off a Nintex Workflow Cloud workflow, we could do that. A lot of different options there. Again, total flexibility. The idea is, whatever you would do with the mouse and a keyboard in the process, we would have Nintex RPA do.